So then, we are back with more understanding from the time of the Second Tabernacle services that we find in the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Israelic lineage. So then we can understand the time of the end as per Yirmiyahu the prophet. We find a layer of understanding of the spring feast, the autumn feast, and also the returning of the cities of the Messiah laid waste for many centuries. As we understand then the holy instructions of Daniel the 11th chapter prior of speaking of the post-autumn feast, yesterday then came out news from the BRICS post regarding then the Soviet Union closing a deal with Brazil of rockets, anti-air rockets purchased by 1 time 12 digits USD. It's very important pointing out Daniel, the 11th chapter, because it is then the Northern Kingdom later coming up with much equipment. This is very important understanding because Brazil has made a blunt mistake of thinking they can close up deals regarding infrastructure with the Soviet Union, and they are strictly military. If you are a person studied, if you get away from Catholicism, because they are absolutely bankrupt, as far as we can understand, the Vatican is bankrupt, and the reason why they came to Brazil after they found out their investments were then lost, besides then sex with the children, pedophiles and so on and so forth, is an absolutely a scoundrelous organization. Then we find ourselves studying even further the holy instructions because the Soviet Union then is strictly military. So Brazil has hopes of linking up with the Soviets because the existing Brazilian leadership is obviously a socialist party, and the president is trying then to find, in quote, a card to play on March because she has nothing to say. She's trying to get then the favor of the Soviets then on March to speak on behalf of Brazil, where there is absolutely no objective. It's not going to work. The same way is not working for the United States because US must come up with a linker, the computer linker regarding then the Chinese system prior of thinking of their own industry. Volkswagen, for instance, is trying then to set up a 7 times 12 digits car plant in Detroit. It's not going to work. Not until the linker is established. And we've got 24 months. You're already past the mid of the first month of the regular calendar, and then we are finding more and more nonsense of these politicians trying to get a hold of power as they used to have in the past. It's not going to work. The computer system is coming, and there are people here living in caves, so to speak. Some people, and then great majority, they don't understand that there is already a virtual system in the computer. They try to hide behind then the paper money. Stock up paper money under the pad. And when the system comes, they're going to get caught unawares. So then, reading these for the holy instructions, we find in Daniel the 11th chapter, not only this, but then post-autumn feast, later coming from Ezekiel, and also Yirmiyahu the 65th, 66th, Ezekiel, and then parts of Zechariah also we can read and understand further. Brazil unfortunately has minus 0.5% on the last quarter, and the politicians, they simply are sucking dry the country. Don't they understand the infrastructure with the Soviet Union won't work? They are having problems of their own. What kind of infrastructure and economy ties can be done with the Soviets if they are strictly military? Where do we find these then? Very simply, Daniel the 11th chapter. Then later the Soviet Union will come with much equipment. Much equipment on language of the time was then military equipment. But then nations are trying over and over again as if they had some sort of a forward motion, because what they have done thus far is a disaster. Watch most of the nations. The Eurozone is simply dismantling itself. They can push for reforms because the system is failing. The last quarter, the Eurozone only had grown 0.1%. You take a percent and divide by 10. You take a tenth of it. So people were speaking of hiring pro-people. If pro-people were worth something, the world would be in the best shape ever. These people, they don't know. Yet they gorge themselves in their own ignorance and enjoying each other's incompetence, where then the system is absolutely implacable. In the future, if you have a computer and have the knowledge, then you prosper. If you don't, you will perish. Because a lot of companies, they won't be paying people anymore with paper money. They're going to do online. So then, the Creator always warns His people, and He sends people, and then they get warned ahead of time. Understandably, many of nations are then yet contaminated with the Greco-Roman translation, knowing that the Greco country is bankrupt and Italy is bankrupt. If God had come out of those places, He would simply then indicate with some sort of sense of understanding of the holy instructions, rather than experiencing these existing situations where they absolutely have no hope. What can you expect a country such as Brazil, in the midst of a situation regarding then religion is absolutely pagan, Catholicism is bankrupt, Vatican is bankrupt, those people are stealing the money, and they expect some sort of a miracle. And then they want to do the same thing and expect another result. This is what it means, insanity. When the system comes, it will change overnight. And Daniel has warned a long time ago. So then, what can we gather from the Messiah? Extremely simple. What can we gather then from Shlimon? Very simple. There is a time for every purpose. As the world then is transitioning from the 1,000 years of deceit so much wanted at the time, as they don't understand, we are during the Dragonic period, started in 2010. Then they think people are trying to deceive, where the time is for precision. Precision regarding trade via computer. It's not only precision by itself. You have to have precision in a system of positive numbers, so you can make yourself worth it. Otherwise, you are not fit for the prophecy of Daniel. Because we are not talking about people being technical and precise in what they do. Means every quarter the number must be positive, so then when the system comes, then they can take those numbers and convert them so becomes positive when the new system then comes. Now, people get absolutely, with ants in the pants, so to speak, they get absolutely overwhelmed with such ignorance and stupidity in trying to make the system to work, and they don't respect the quarters. They try to change rapidly, and that's not the way it works. Waiting and then changing and then make the proper changes after a certain time is given. So then, China must lead. There is absolutely no question. Brazilian government, stupid as they are, they should have made a deal with China instead. Brazil is a peaceful country. It's so peaceful that even the minister of the army purchases obsolete equipment. This is how peaceful they are. They don't give a shit. So then, as we read then and understand further, then truly the future is in the hands of those who are then instructing the people via tabernacling. These are the true instructors. The rest of them are simply mockers. They simply wait for somebody else to take leadership, then they mock from behind. But if you listen to their junk, it is a pile of ignorance. Mobile pile of ignorance. Let's then try to understand what goes on in the politics. As we understand, Great Britain is also searching for new reforms. The Eurozone is breaking. There is absolutely no chance for the Eurozone to recuperate. Daniel the prophet has mentioned then during the time of 1,000 years of deceit, people would try, nations would try to come together under a system and they would not adhere to each other. This means a system. Now, if you are a person that only observes money printed, you are absolutely set for failure. The situation regarding the time of the restoration period in these last roughly 20 years left, the most 20 years, is then the trade as per the instructions. We are no longer during the time of the caravans. There is nothing wrong with the caravans. But Daniel has mentioned, and then knowledge would increase by the end of 1,000 years of deceit for the purposes of trade. When you unite high knowledge and trade, you find the computer. So then, US has no choice. They must come up with a linker. The computer linker, so then local banks and central banks can link themselves up with the new Chinese system. If you understand eBay or other types of online purchases, online dealers, you understand. You can purchase the product, you use your credit card, or at the future, you can find then the system, invest on products, wait for a month, and then get your money and then purchase anyway. What is incredible is the elderly people not interested in learning. They are stagnated, as if they are mounting themselves up on a pile of paper money where there is no worth. These older people, they're going to be taken by the hand because they won't understand the new system. So then, we read what the Messiah has said because the time is very short. The Holy Instructions explains in Tiago, the 24th chapter, then a time of harmony, a very short time of harmony. But the time is not yet. When the Messiah said is not yet, he's explaining prior of the time of the end. If you read from the Greco-Roman translation, you have to explain then what the Messiah did with 1,000 years of the Messiah. Ask yourself, do you think the world can last another 1,000 years in this earth? The resources are exhausting. Forests are exhausting. Please stay tuned, much more coming up.